I'm actually going to just write a couple of functions here. One is for median and one is for mode. So anybody who can help me kind of see what a median is, or tell me what a median is. What's the main characteristics of a median? What are we looking for?
The middle number
The
in
middle number.
List or series.
Exactly. So we are looking for something which is which is the center point, which is the middle number. So if we are looking for a middle number, what do we need? We basically need to find out the first thing that we need to find out in a median is that how many numbers are there in that array or in that list or in that series, whatever it is, how many numbers are there? So let's start writing a function. So we are going to write a function which is median. And I am actually, you can pass whatever types. I am actually going to do it with the arguments. So as I did earlier, because I think most of you are very comfortable with lists, but this argument is a kind of a really good concept for Python. So I'm actually going to work with this argument. So the first step in this is that we need to figure out what is the length of this these arguments. How many arguments? Like, is it 3? Is it 5? Is it 6? Because the difference is that if it is 5, we can find the center point. If it is 6, we have to find the 2 center points. And then once we have the 2 center points, then we add them together and then you divide them by 2. So does that make sense?
Yes.
How do we find out if the arguments are even or odd? Anybody, any thoughts?
Sure, if there is a function for that, but last time I divided by 2 and I checked the remainder.
Exactly. So that's the best way to do it is, so we are going to divide it by 2 and find the remainder. So this modulus sign actually tells us that what the remainder is. And if the remainder is equal to 0, then it is an even number. And if it is the even number, what we are going to do is we are going to take the 2 values that are in the center and then we add them together. And then once we add them together, we will divide it by 2. So what we will do is let's define another variable. So I'm going to actually define a variable I, and I'm just trying to make it a little bit simpler. So that's why I'm defining a few variables. There are other ways that you can actually quickly do it also. So you take the length of the of your arguments. So this is the length of the arguments, and what you are going to do is you are going to take the length of the argument and divide it by 2. So once you have arguments that are divided by 2, your number is going to be 3, because it's 6 is your total of arguments length, and it's you divided by 2, the number is going to be 3. And the elements that you need are, if you're going by index, if you have 6 elements, you are going to have 0 to 5. So your element that you have in there, that 3, is actually you will have to have that 3 and 2. So you need 2 of those. So we will what we are going to do is we are going to take this length of this and we are going to divide it by 2. So once we take the length and we divide it by 2, it will give us so 5 divided by 2 will actually give us 2.5. But if you have 6, then it will give you 6 divided by 2 is going to give you 3. And then you need 3 and 2 as your 2 variables. So we take that length of the arguments and we divide by 2. And this is in case your list is equal to is an even number. And the second, so the j element is going to be I minus 1, because you need to go and basically 3, and then the 2 is -1. So you are one element higher and then you go one element lower from there. And then in this case, what you do is after that, you actually have to return the value, which is your args. And then it's going to be index of I plus args index of j. And then once you have these two, this is going to be divided by 2. So this is half of your function. The other half is, you can actually say else, if it is not divided by 2, then it's a lot more simpler, because you can actually just take the length of the argument again, and you divide it by 2, and then again we will call it I, and then you divide it by 2. Now again, if your length is 6 and your index is going from 0 to 5, sorry, if your length is not 6, in this case the length is 5, and you have to take the element, your index is going to be 0, 1, 2. 2 is your middle, because 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is your 5 elements. So what you're looking for is the element which is at index 2. So just keep that in mind. We do need that. So for that, we will have to go j is equal to, again, I minus 1. So this is going to be that. And then all you need after that is you just have to return args, and you basically just take that index j.
Is it j going to be I plus 1?
Yeah, I was asking the same thing. It should be I plus 1 or minus 1.
Because you start at 0, right? But you actually want it to be not 2, but 3.
So you have 5 elements. So for example, let's create an array. So for example, this is our these are our numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 numbers. So what you need is the center point. So this is index 0, 1, and 2. When I take this 5 and divide by 2, it's going to be 2.5. Right? I need the 2. Actually, this minus 1 is probably not going to work, because because when I subtract 1 from there, it's going to go 1.5. So
Yeah, it'd be plus 1. J equals I plus 1, right?
If you do plus 1, then it's going to be 3.5.
How about minus 1.5?
Yeah, we can do that, or we can actually round it, or we can actually do something which is called floor. So we can actually take the floor, and the floor will do that. Actually, I will take all of this.
Why we don't add 1 to the length and then divide it by 2?
Right.
Oh, you add, so you make the length 6 and then divide by 2, then you get the index 3, and you subtract 1 from there. Yeah, you can do that also. So all of these are good suggestions. Let me make it, and I'm just kind of showing you that you can do a few things. I am actually going to leave it here, and what I am going to do is I'm going to say, just give me the integer out of it. All of these are good suggestions. Like, all of these are good. You can do whichever way you want to go. So let's run this. And then we say underscore median, and then we passed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, what you guys said is all. So it gives you the center point. Now, if we change the arguments and we make it 6, okay, now what's the problem? Tuple indexes must be integers or slices, not float. Ah. So in this case, it is going to be 3.5. Any questions on this?
What was the float error?
Or the float error was that it is, okay. If I take this integer out, this value of I becomes 3.0. And it was saying that this I cannot be 3.0. It has to be an integer. It cannot be a float. And this is just a function. This is just kind of general hint is that what if somebody actually puts by mistake a number as A? So this throws an exception that A is not defined, or you could have some. So generally, when you're writing code, you should be able, your code should be able to handle these kind of exceptions, these kind of problems. And that's something that you should, as a good programmer, you should always have in mind, is that people can actually enter values that may not be valid values. And if they have entered a value like that, how does my code handle that? Can my code gracefully handle any kind of bad value? And that's one of the key things, or I should say that that's a difference between a good programmer versus an average one, is that his code should be able to handle some unexpected values that there. So those are some things that you should keep in mind when you're coding. That your code should be able to handle kind of exceptions. All right. So that was one of the exercises that we had.